Hey guys, it's Brenda. I know that it has been a very long time since I've done an update, and about a week ago I had started to type up an update, but it was getting extremely long because there's so much that I haven't been able to let everybody know. I decided, instead of typing it this time, that I was going to get out of my comfort zone one more time and do a video. So, y'all know a while ago I had started a new chemo. This is the chemo that was suggested by MD Anderson, called Halaven. I was put on this chemo after my tumor quadrupled in size. My tumor was 16 by 16 up in my chest. And I started the Halaven and went through one full cycle of the Halaven and had some scans done. And after just one cycle of Halaven, my tumor had shrunk from 16 by 16 down to 8 by 7. This was the first time in 3 years that we had gotten control of my tumor. My doctors decided that they still needed to be aggressive. So that was when they suggested that I also needed to go through the radiation again. I believe that this was where my last update probably left off, was that I was about to start 5 weeks of radiation, Monday through Friday. You have Saturday and Sunday off. The first week of radiation and chemotherapy together was actually pretty easy. I didn't have too many issues with it, and to be honest, I had forgotten how rough radiation was, so after that first week I didn't have too many symptoms yet, and I thought that it was going to be pretty easy. But the further and further that I got into the radiation and the chemotherapy together, the rougher it got and the more sleeping I did. I was getting to the point where I was missing my medications. I wasn't hooking up to my feeding tube. The only thing I was doing is basically getting up to use the restroom and going right back to sleep, and I was sleeping day and night. And that's pretty much the reason why I have not been able to do any updates, is because the radiation and the chemotherapy together were just so rough. Last time I had radiation, I had chemotherapy first, and then the radiation after the chemotherapy. I didn't have them together, but this time, having them together, it was pretty rough. So after I was done with the radiation, I had scans again, and it wasn't quite as drastic, but my tumor shrunk again. My tumor is currently 6 by 4, which is a miracle in disguise. Jay and I and my family, we are just so happy because this buys me some time, and we know that God is good and that He is watching over me. I did have a couple things happen. My eyebrows have fallen out again. My eyelashes have fallen out again. So I'm kind of dealing with that, and I am no good with makeup. So for me to draw on some eyebrows, that's not going to happen, because it would look worse than just not having any at all. So not doing that. Um, so let's see, after I did all the radiation and stuff, the next thing that we had going on was, I had some severe lymphedema in my arm, and I had my arm bandaged from my knuckles all the way up to my underarm. And I wasn't really allowed to bend it or do anything with it. I couldn't do any of my crafting. It was extremely hot with it being 90 degrees outside. I had an appointment today, and I have gotten out of the bandages. So I now have a lymphedema sleeve. It's very thin and it's very tight in compression, and it keeps all the fluid out of my arm so that I don't get an infection. I also have a glove to keep all of the fluid out of my hand as well. However, the glove part I don't really have to wear unless I'm doing an awful lot of typing or an awful lot of crafting or a lot of stuff with my hand. So most of the time I can leave the glove off and just have this thin, very thin sleeve on, which seems to not be as bad as the bandages. So, and then unfortunately this sleeve is not something that you wear day and night. You have to actually either follow the video and put all of the bandages back on so that you can't move your arm, and it's the compression bandages are put back on. Jay and I didn't want to do that every single night, so we talked to the Pretty in Pink company, and she was the one who got me my sleeve and my glove for crafting, and she told me that there are some new things out since the last time that I needed to do something for my lymphedema. The first thing that is out is what's called a Ready Wrap, and it is a kind of like a really thick sleeve that you put your arm in, and then there are Velcro straps that you pull very tight and wrap around your arm, and you can wear that at nighttime instead of taking half hour, 40 minutes to put those bandages back on, which are not comfortable at all to sleep in. So we're going to give that a try. It's covered by insurance at 100%, so we're going to give it a try and see what happens. Insurance is these gloves. Insurance is also going to cover this at 100%, and she has to order me a whole bunch of these sleeves. We're going to order I think 4 or 6 of them right off the bat so that I can interchange them. Unfortunately, my lymphedema has gotten so out of control that I have to wear something now 24/7 on my arm to keep the fluid out. And one of the bad things with this new Halaven chemo is that it's lowering my immune system down to 0. In the 3 years that I've had cancer, I have not had an immune system down to 0, and this isn't normal according to my doctor. But because this chemo is working, she has kind of dealt with my low immune system. I've had to kind of stay in the house, which hasn't been too hard to do because I've been doing all the sleeping from the radiation. But with my immune system being down to 0, I have a higher risk of infection and things, so I do have to keep all the fluid out of my arm. The other thing that they have is what's called this Tribute Night. This is brand new. I would obviously not need the leg part. I need the arm piece. It looks like a big, huge, very, very thick oven mitt. And then there is a sleeve, a very tight sleeve that pulls over the top of it. And it actually goes past your fingers, the mitt, so that you don't even have use of your fingers or your hands. So she's going to measure me next week for this. And we're going to give it a try and have it made. It is covered by insurance. She says that I should try it. So we're going to give it a try. And it comes in pink. So, of course, I want pink. So we're going to give that a try and see if that works. Hopefully that will save me from having to wrap my arm every single night, because my bedtime routine is long enough. Sometimes I'm hooked up to my feeding pump, sometimes I'm hooked up to my infusion pump through my port. They're two separate pumps. They can't be interchanged or used for one another. And I have to clean my feeding tube. I have numerous medications and powders that have to be mixed and put through my feeding tube. Unfortunately, one of the ugly things with chemotherapy is constipation. So I have to put prune juice and milk of magnesia through my feeding tube, because I don't know anybody who wants to drink prune juice. That's just awful. So, that's that. Oh, the company who I am trying the compression garments for is Chemo. So hopefully this is a good company, and hopefully their products hold up. So we're going to give them a try and see what happens. At first, apparently these beige ones are the easiest to get, and they come very quickly. So I'm gonna need more than one, especially when it's 90 degrees outside. So I had her just order a bunch of beige at first, but then I believe in August she said I can order more, so then I think I'm going to order some fun colors and kind of dress it up. I may as well have fun with it. Life is short. So that's, I believe, the full update as far as my lymphedema goes. The last item that I need to update y'all on is, well, everything has been good news up until here. I posted some pictures a while ago about some very, very, very thick scabbing and black necrotic skin that was going across my chest. We didn't know what it was. It started not too long after I had the biopsy done. It's possible that when the needle went into the tumor and they pulled the needle back out, it is possible that some cancer cells decided to embed into my skin. So it has, we think that it has kind of worked a little bit with my chemotherapy. During my weeks off of chemotherapy, the redness and the inflammation and the black scabbing during my weeks off would increase. And then when I would have chemotherapy, the redness and some of the blackness and stuff would decrease a little bit. So we seem to think that it's possible cancer. I talked to my doctor, and I wanted to know if this had anything to do with my breast cancer or, what we're all looking at here. So she said that if this is cancer, I will be dealing with a whole new separate cancer. So not only will I be dealing with my breast cancer that has metastasized to my lymph nodes, my liver, and my chest wall, but I would be dealing with a whole separate skin cancer. So I would now be fighting breast cancer and skin cancer. Not to worry though. I'm fighting the breast cancer. What's one more? We can do this too. So, but there's also a chance that this is not cancer, because we don't know what it is. We don't know what's going on. We were hoping that we would be able to get a hold of it, but it has just gotten worse and worse. And recently, when I went to go and see my oncologist, she noticed that it had gone from the very bottom of my breast 3/4 of the way up, and that it was all the way across. And she said, Brenda, now is the time we need to do surgery. So very, very quickly, I know that some of you saw on my Facebook wall, Jay posted that I was going into surgery on Monday. It was scheduled pretty quick, and today is Thursday, so I am like 3 full days out of surgery. I'm pretty sore. Obviously the anesthesia is worn off now, so I'm not so tired. This is pretty close to my double mastectomy. I have drains, a couple drains, that have to be emptied on a regular basis. I emptied most of everything out of them already because I'm sure that some of you don't want to see that. It's pretty gross. So these drains get emptied a couple times a day, and I have to write down how much was in them and the date and the time. Eventually the amount that goes into the drains will be less and less, and soon we'll be able to take the drains out, and my body will just soak up the little bit that's left. Chemo brain, it's true. I believe I've lost my place. So the drains, I do have, everything is padded. What they did during the surgery was remove my tissue expanders that had the magnets in them and the fluid in them. They removed the alloderm from the right side, but all of the skin on the side where my cancer is was very, very thin, and she was not able to sew it together because it was too thin. So she had to keep the alloderm that was in there to kind of make my skin stronger. For those of you who don't know what alloderm is derived from donated skin. So it's cadaver skin. So yes, it is someone else's skin that is donated. The reason that my body, when my immune system is so low, the reason my body doesn't reject it is because there's a process that the cadaver skin goes through. And before they can put it into my body, or anybody else's body for that matter, is they need to take out the immune cells out of the skin. So before it comes to me, they do all kinds of tests on it. And then they remove all the immune cells from the actual skin, so that when they give it to me, my immune system and my cells will actually start to take home in that skin, and my body will actually treat that skin as if it's my own. So eventually my skin and the alloderm will come together, and hopefully it will heal up. Since the necrotic tissue and all of the black and scabbing that she had to remove, she wasn't able to remove all of it because there was just too much. If she would have removed all of it, there wouldn't have been enough to sew together, enough skin left to sew together. So she had to leave some of the bad skin behind. So she's using the alloderm along with my thin skin to sew it together. And we are hoping that the skin that is left is going to be healthy enough, and my immune system is going to be okay in order for me to heal. So my chemotherapy that I was supposed to have last week was canceled, which is very scary because my cancer is aggressive. So I've been put on antibiotics. I've been put on 2, actually. One of them is every 12 hours, and one of them is every 6 hours. And yes, I need to get up in the middle of the night to take it because I cannot risk right now for this to not heal properly. Because if it doesn't heal, I need to possibly go through skin grafting and more alloderm and more difficult surgeries. So as I go through more and more surgeries, it's getting more and more difficult to heal up from them and to pull out of them. So I'm trying to keep the surgeries that I have to go through to a minimum and do everything that I can to keep myself well, which is why I had the feeding tube and, well, the oxygen, taking my antibiotics, taking numerous pills throughout the day, getting up in the middle of the night with either my feeding tube or my infusion pump or my drains, taking medications. It almost seems like a 40-hour job with everything that I have to do throughout the day because it's every couple hours I have to do something. I no more than sit down with a craft or no more than sit down to fall asleep, and I need to get up to do something else. There are some days where it is just too difficult, and I can't get up. I'm too tired. I don't feel good. I'm nauseous. And I end up missing medications, my formula through my feeding tube. I miss all of the powders that I'm supposed to mix. I miss my infusions, numerous medications that I'm supposed to put through my feeding tube. So sleeping for an entire day definitely sets me behind. But sometimes I have no choice. So I do the best that I can, and that's all that we can do. So I guess one of the main things is I want to tell everybody thank you for your prayers, because God is good, and I know that He's watching over me, and I know that He's taking care of me. And the days that I think I can't take anymore, I know that I can look up and hand it over to Him, and I know that He will take it and help me through it. And He has, because I've gotten this far. So I want to tell all of you, thank you for the prayers. They're working. Thank you for being there for my family, because it means a lot. There is no way of getting through this without friends and family and a support system. And right now is a critical time, because if the pathology report comes back and this is skin cancer, I have to go off of the only chemotherapy medication that is working for me. None of the others in the past almost 3 years have worked. This is the first one that has actually shrunk my cancer. And to think that if this is cancer, I will need to go off of that chemo and start a whole new chemotherapy, possibly a couple of chemotherapies. So I want to say thank you, because I will not only be fighting breast cancer, but I may also be fighting skin cancer. So I pray that if I have to go off of the one chemotherapy that's working for me, I pray that there's another one out there that can kind of whip this cancer in shape and evict it. So once again, I want to say thank you to all of you for standing by my side. Since I've been diagnosed with cancer, I have received numerous care packages, lotions, blankets, all the way down to the little G-tube pads that fit around my feeding tube. Little things, big things, prayers, phone calls, text messages. So thank you for all of it. Thank you for sticking with us. And I'm gonna try and keep getting out of my comfort zone and doing some of these videos. I can't promise I'll do one every day, but I will do them when I have updates. So I'm excited that I have chemotherapy tomorrow. My doctor thinks that it is okay to move forward tomorrow. So, but the second chemotherapy that I would normally have next week, she may push that one off a little bit, because having the two so close together is what makes my white blood cell count drop so low. So we won't be able to have the two so close together, but I'm excited to get back on the Halaven tomorrow. If this is not cancer, I can move forward with my Halavens, and that is what I would receive tomorrow. So I am moving forward with positive thoughts that this is not cancer, and that I can have my Halaven tomorrow, and that my tumor will continue shrinking, and that I can see some of you soon, hopefully travel to Wisconsin and enjoy life. So I will talk to y'all soon. As always, sending love and hugs to all of you.